Okay, fine. Admit பண்ணுவோம் எல்லாத்தையும்.
Okay, brother. And then recording. Yeah, Alhamdulillah.
Okay, fine. Recording the cloud. Okay, recording on, live on.
So good evening, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me clearly. If yes, please, you may chat in the chat box that you can hear me. Yes, yes, thank you very much. Yes, so good evening to all of y'all and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So yes, today we are going to go for one of the most basic and important lesson, that is structure and functions of the plant and animal cell, right? So can anybody guess what this picture is? On the screen? Yes, it's a plant cell. This is a animal cell, right? The first one is a plant cell, and yes, Mariam, this is a animal cell, right? Yes. So today's lesson is one of the basic and important lessons. So mostly the questions, if we look at the MCQ paper and your structure essay paper and your essay paper, mostly the questions are based on the tissues, or it can be about the systems of the body, right? But in order for you to do your best in those questions, first of all, you should understand about the cell clearly, right? So that it will be easy for you to answer those questions. So this is the basic, right? So as what the cell means, that is the basic unit of life, right? So you should understand the basic unit of life to understand what it does, really, the systems, right? The nervous system, the excretory system, the circulatory system, right? So let's go right into the lesson. Okay, so the basic unit of life, right? So what is it? That is the cell. Okay, Robert Hooke called it the cell. So he was the first person to discover, right? Discover the cell. He was the first person to examine the cells through his microscope, right? He made his own microscope, right? It's the first microscope made from him, made by him, right? Yes. So he examined the picture, he examined the structure of a cork, right? So he extracted it from a plant and then he examined it from the microscope. So what he did, right? What he did at that time, 1665, is the base of biology, right? So that is why we are finding all sorts of medicines, we are studying all sorts of pharmaceutical products and all those stuffs. We are targeting the cells and we are making, and he put the foundation for it, isn't it? Right, fine. So yes, cell theory. Well, of course, these facts were in your textbook, right? So we can't miss them. Sometimes they might ask questions out of this, right? So let's rush through these parts, right? Okay. So the structural and the functional unit of life is the cell, right? So that is no doubt, we know that That is the structural and the functional unit of life. What? The cell itself, right? Okay, fine. All organisms are made up of one or more cells. So what does that mean? Well, of course, in the first session, in the first webinar, we studied that some organisms can be multicellular and some organisms can be unicellular, right? So we, of course, humans are multicellular organisms. And when we talk about the bacteria, they are unicellular organisms. Yes, new cells are formed from pre-existing cells. So this, of course, how you were born, right? So your cell, your basic first cell was formed by your father and your mother's cell, right? So of course, in the latter part of this session, we'll be studying about mitosis and meiosis, right? So in that, we'll be discussing about that in a more detailed way. So just remember that the cell theory has 3 main points. So these are the 3 main points of the cell theory, right? So the concept of cell, right? What is the concept of cell? So if they ask you what is a cell, you would have to write this definition. That is the smallest unit of life, right? And all organisms can either be unicellular or multicellular. Cells perform different functions in the body. Yes, of course. All the cells same? No, right? It won't be. So we'll be discussing about it in the next slide, right? The cells differ from one another from their shape, size, and function. Okay, now look at these pictures. What do you think about this blue one in here? What do you think this is? Can anybody tell me what it is? This one over here. You can tell in the chat box. What is this? Yes, it's a neuron, exactly. Yes, we'll be sending the presentations, Ma. Yes, it's a neuron. So what about this one in here? The pink one over to your right-hand side. Okay, muscle. Okay, can you be more specific? Bacteria, cheek cells. Okay, fine. No, this is actually cardiac muscle cells, right? This is not bacteria, this is cardiac muscle cells. That is the cells of your heart, right? Yes, okay, not bacteria, dear. Okay, fine. What about this one in here? The structure in here, that is, of course, it's bacteria, right? It's a bacteria with lots of flagella and cilia, right? Okay, fine. Let's come to this. What do you think about this one in here? Any guesses? Does it seem like a big bacteria? No, this is actually an osteocyte, that is a bone cell, right? You can't tell it's a cell and escape. Okay, you have to tell what cell it is. Okay, right. So these are all cells, but look at them, how different they are. So according to the function of them, they will be specific, right? They are according to their function, their structure will be more specific, right? Okay, fine. So structure of the cell. So if all the cells are so different, how are we going to study about the cell? Which cell are we supposed to study? Are we supposed to study about the neuron, or are we supposed to study about the bacteria, right? Okay, so know the structure of a typical cell. You should know how a typical cell will look like. So where can you find one, right? Where can you find one? Can anybody tell me where in your body will you find a typical cell? Cheek, heart. Okay, nowhere. Exactly, there is no typical cell. Okay, so we study about the typical cell because we have to study the structure of the cell, right? Why? Because now if we talk about the sperm is a cell. If you talk about the egg is a sperm, right? So if you talk about the bacteria, it's a cell. So all of them are different according to their function, according to their the site in which they are. So however, to study, we put all of the organelles together and then we study, okay, this is how a typical cell will look like, right? Okay, as for the practical, you have observing cheek cells and onion cells, right? So some of y'all might have done it in school, right? Using the microscope, okay? And basically cheek cells, you see how animal cells look like, and then the onion cell, you can see how a plant cell will look like, right? So yes, what is meant by typical cell is how normally a cell will look. What are the things, cells, what are the things that the cell will contain, right? But listen to me very carefully. Not all the cells will have all the parts, right? Okay, now look at this. This is from your textbook. This is how an animal cell will look like, right? This is one part, right? Look at this now. You have the cell membrane, you have the nucleus, you have the cytoplasm, right? So all these things, these three parts are there in the plant cell too. But look at the difference of it, okay? The nucleus is pushed to the corner, right? And then there's a big vacuole in the middle, right? But do you find a big vacuole like that in the animal cell? No, right? And then look at this. There's a cell wall present in the plant cell. But do you find a cell wall in the animal cell? No, right? So can you see, Ma? Animal cell and plant cell is different from each other, but both of them are cells, right? So we are going to look at both of them, right? What are the differences? What are the common parts, right? We'll be looking at it in the next slide. Okay, so before we go into that, I want you all to understand where we are. Okay, so what I mean by that is, look at the size of it, right? We are talking about something that we can't see from our naked eye, right? So somewhere ranging from 10 micrometer to 100 micrometer, somewhere in here between we are talking about now. So of course you need the microscope to look at them, right? But when we are talking about the organelles, okay, this is the first time I'm using that word in this webinar, organelle, right? Organelles are present inside the cell. Those are the small tiny parts of the cell, right? Okay, so those are much more smaller, right? So it goes on like that, right? So we are talking about minute structures of life, right? If something goes wrong in these small units, that is where diseases come. Okay, right. Okay, so look at this beautiful picture. Okay, so we have in here onto the left slide, we have an animal cell and we have in here a plant cell, right? So you might think, oh my God, do I have to memorize? Do I have to know all of these? Yes, you have to, right? But some parts are additional in this picture, right? So of course, some basic parts you have to know in this. Okay, so you can see the nucleus is common. I just want you to see this picture for about 1 minute. I'll give you all 1 minute time. Just go through this picture and find out what are the parts common in both of these cells and what are the parts not common and what are the unique parts, right? Just go through them. I'll give you all just 1 minute.
Fire sister, your mic is mute.
Yes, is it okay now?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So I hope you all got familiar with some of the words in here. Okay, right, fine. Let's go for the next slide. Okay, so remember these parts. Okay, remember these parts. Okay, and look how different these cells are. Some of the parts are similar. So for an example, we have the nucleus. Okay, in here we have the nucleus in the middle and here we have a nucleus in here. But the vacuole, do we have a vacuole in here? No, right? No, we don't have a big vacuole like that. But what about the endoplasmic reticulum? Yes, we have in both the cells. But what about the cell wall? Yes, cell wall is not present in the animal cell. Now, if I tell you all like this, you all will be like, oh my God, there are so much of stuffs, but I can't understand. Or some of you all might think, how am I going to remember all of those names? Right. At the end of this session, you will know most of them, what is needed for your exam paper, right? So don't worry, right? We are going to cover this lesson thoroughly, inshallah. Okay, fine. So let's go for the next slide. Yes, so differences between the animal cell and the plant cell. So know that for your syllabus, okay, we don't have much differences. Okay, so you just have to remember just 4 differences is enough, right? Just remember 4 differences, that's it. Right? Some of you all might think, oh my God, I have to remember everything. No, right? If you talk about the university, what they study for the degree, right? You will faint and fall. Okay, so just remember what you're studying is very simple and easy. Okay, animal cell. Now you're supposed to tell me the other part of it, right? Okay. Okay, plant cell. So cell wall absent, plant cell wall is present, right? Before I click, make sure that you put the answer in the chat box. Let's see who is faster. Okay, large content of it contains a cytoplasm. Well, of course, in the plant cell, the large content is what? Is the vacuole, right? It's the vacuole. Why? Because the cytoplasm is pushed towards its periphery. Why? Because the vacuole is taking a big space, isn't it? Right? Okay, fine. That is the next point in here. Okay, right. Large central vacuole or few vacuoles may present. So in here, can you all see? Now I told that there is a large vacuole in the middle, right? But what about this? Or few vacuoles may present. What does this mean? Okay. So, am I being not to the word that I said? Okay. Am I not sticking to the word that I'm not telling? What am I meaning by this? Well, of course, that is why, according to the place of the cell in the plant, it may differ, right? But typically, when we take a plant cell, there will be a big central vacuole in the cell, right? But when we are talking about the animal cell, there's no such big vacuole, right? Chloroplast absent in the animal cell, we don't have chloroplast present. Exactly. Well done. Okay, now look at this. Why do I have put a kid playing Lego? Any idea? Any idea? Okay. No idea. Exactly. Yes. Yes. Yes, Mahdi, you're correct, right? So basically what we are going to do is we are just going to remove these parts, tiny parts, and we are going to study now, right? Just like this kid trying to figure out what these parts are, right? You saw those complex pictures, right? I told you all not to worry. We are going to study about them. Here we go, right? So cell organelles and structures present in a cell. So organelles are the small parts or the small structures that can be found inside the cell, right? So we have the cell wall, then we have the plasma membrane, then we have the cytoplasm, then we have the nucleus, mitochondrion, Golgi complex, ribosome, endoplasmic reticulum, and vacuole. And of course, we have many more, right? The list goes endlessly. Okay, there are biologists, pathologists, they are working so hard to understand how these tiny things work so efficiently, right? And for your syllabus, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 main organelles to study. So take it simple, right? So take it simple. Okay, so let's study one by one. Okay, so this is the cell wall, right? So cell wall, as I told, in the beginning, it is present in the plant cells only. Okay, and it is a dead structure. Okay, and made up of cellulose. What is it made up of? It is made up of cellulose, right? So in the first lesson of your textbook, you studied what cellulose is. Can anybody tell me what cellulose is? What is cellulose? What is cellulose? Exactly, it is a polysaccharide, right? So basically it is carbohydrate, right? Polysaccharide is carbohydrate, right? Fine. Function, what is the function? Maintains the shape of the cell, supports and protects. So of course, basically when we talk about the plants, they are exposed to the outer environment, right? But they are having special structures, special organelles that we don't have, right? So one such organelle is the cell wall. We don't have a cell wall in our cells, right? So remember, plants live outside, so they have a cell wall, they have more protection. Remember it like that, right? Okay, fine. Let's go for the next one. What is this now? This is the cell membrane. So I'm going from the outside to the inner part of the cell, right? So that is why I started from the cell wall. That is the outer covering of the cell. Now let's go inside. Inside the cell wall, we have, yes, cell wall is dead. Okay, it's a dead structure. Yes. So cell membrane, right? Cell membrane is right inside the cell wall. And of course, we also need a boundary, right? Our cell needs a boundary. We don't have a cell wall. Then we have the cell membrane, right? So what does the cell membrane do? Well, of course, before that, let's see what the cell membrane is made up of. It is made up of phospholipids and proteins. And of course, there are many structures, right? So it's like a gate, okay? A real strict gate, right? It does not enter whatever comes on its way, right? It always checks, right? Now look at this channel proteins, right? So exactly, that is the word. Selectively permeable, we call it semi-permeable, right? Okay, so what they do, they always check, right? Who can go in, they always control, okay? So of course we need things to go in and out, isn't it, right? So they always control what goes inside and outside. You can't let everything come inside, okay? Or else the cell will burst, okay? If something goes wrong with this cell membrane, what do you think will happen? The cell will burst, right? Phospholipid, okay? It is, just know that it is kind of a compound that can be found in the cell membrane, right? Okay, of course, if you all are interested, okay, so if you all are what can we say, planning to pursue higher degrees in biology, yes, of course, you should know what phospholipids and proteins are, right? Okay, and it is semi-permeable, and the function controls the entry and exit. This is the most, what can we say, strong guard of the cell, right? It does not let anybody enter without its permission. Okay, right, fine. So what is this? Toys. Okay, so this is about the cytoplasm. Okay, so imagine this is your cell. Okay, this is your cell. So this is the cell membrane. Okay, so these are the tiny organelles inside. And in what are they? In what are they merged in? Okay, so are they in air? No, they are not in air. They are in jelly-like structure, right? Exactly, gelatinous liquid with organic and inorganic substances, right? Okay, so what is the function? Maintains the shape to the cell. Bear the cell organelles, right? So imagine now, look at this. Now this bear and there's a dinosaur in here. If they want to communicate with each other, right? They have to, or if they want to give a gift to each other, okay, what do? They send it through water, right? So this is what the cytoplasm is doing, right? If this dinosaur want to get something from the bear, what will it do? It will send a signal, and then the bear will send its stuff to the dinosaur, right? So in which medium does this communication takes place? Well, of course, it takes place in the cytoplasm, right? So this cytoplasm is a gelatinous liquid with proteins, with ions, and it's it contains everything that the cell need to function, right? Some organelles are surrounded by cell membrane. So this one is an additional point, right? Now imagine I told you all that metabolic process. Yes, metabolic process is what I told you in a simple form. Now imagine an organelle wants to perform its function, but it needs the support. It needs the signal from another organelle. So where does this happen? How can they communicate with each other if they are far apart? So who is going to connect both of these organelles together? Well, of course, that is going to be happening in the cytoplasm, in this gelatinous structure, right? Okay, fine. So now coming to the boss of the cell, that is the nucleus. That is the main organelle of the cell, right? Nuclear envelope. Remember these words, nuclear envelope, 1 or 2 nucleus, and the chromatin body, right? Look at this picture now. Okay, let's go from inside. Okay, in here we have the nucleolus, okay, and then the nucleolus. After the nucleolus, it can be either 2 or 1 or 2, right? Just remember it. And then we have the chromatin, right? What does the chromatin do? We'll be studying it in a while. And then we have the nuclear envelope covering the chromatin, right? Covering the nucleolus. And then coming outside, we have the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, now why am I talking about the rough endoplasmic reticulum when I have the heading as nucleus? Okay, they are connected. Can you see, right? The pores, okay, the nuclear pore. This is a pore mark. Can you see in here? This is a pore. So this is how the proteins enter the nucleus if they want to, okay? So they come all the way from the rough endoplasmic reticulum and then they enter the nucleus through the pores in here. Can you see tiny pores in here? Right? Okay, fine. So what does it do really? Why did I call it the boss of the cell? Well, of course, it is the boss. That is why I called it like that. Okay, right. So it controls all what the cell has to do and not to do, right? It is the real boss. Okay, and of course, it contains the genes, right? It is the main organelle that has your information, right? How your nose is going to look like, how your proteins are going to be produced, at what time, right? Everything exactly, right? The CPU, right? So that is the nucleus, okay? And it controls the activity of other organelles. Okay, organelles are the small tiny parts inside the cell, right? Okay, so we are discussing about each of those organelles one by one now. Understood, Samad Rizwan? Right, okay, fine. Yes. So what is this chromatin? So chromatin is actually the chromosomes, right? So you have a particular lesson for that, isn't it? Genetic inheritance, you'll study about the 26 chromosomes and how these blood groups are being divided and all sorts of things, right? In A levels, you study it more. And then when you're going for the degree, you study more about it, right? Okay, fine. 23 pairs and 46 chromosomes we have in our body. Right, fine. So let's go for the next part. Hope you all are clear with the organelles that I have discussed till now. Right, the next one. This has a good name, right? We call it the powerhouse, right? So this is the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, so what do we call? The nucleus is the boss and mitochondria is the powerhouse, right? So it gives the energy to the cell to do the work. We all need energy, right? Right? We all need energy. So who is going to give us the energy? Well, of course, the energy has to be produced inside us, right? So who is doing this? That is the mitochondria, right? So look at this. It's just like a simple, funny structure, okay? But it is doing one of the main important work in your cell, right? So it is a double-layered organelle. Can you see outer membrane and inner membrane, right? Okay. And of course, you don't need to remember all of these words. Just if you are interested, you all can learn more about it, right? And then function generates ATP through reactions of ETC. Do you all know what ETC is? Electron? Electron? Can anybody? Okay, if you all have studied this before, you will be able to tell it. If not, it's okay. It's not in your syllabus. Okay, you're a dead silent. Okay, let's see who can. Electron. Atoms. Okay, there's a good question. Samadri's one. Excuse me, teacher. Do our body contain atoms? Of course, ma. All of these stuffs are made up of compounds, right? So, of course, we have atoms in our body, right? So, that part, that is why I put that picture in the beginning, right? Okay. Yes, exactly, Aisha. Electron transport chain. Exactly. Right? Okay, fine. So that is the reaction, of course. You don't have that in your syllabus, so don't worry about it. So remember, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, coming into this, what is this beauty in here? Okay, what is this? It's like a chewed chewing gum, isn't it? It is actually your ribosome. Okay, this does not have a membrane. Okay, it's teeny tiny organelle of your cell, right? It's very tiny. Okay, made up of 2 subunits. This tiny thing has 2 subunits also. Okay, so large ribosome subunit and small ribosome subunit. As I have put this picture for y'all can see that the function of it is protein synthesis. Can you see in here, right? Okay, some of y'all might see that, oh my God, this is too much. What are these exit site and entrance and nucleotide unit? Okay, don't panic, okay? This is for the ones who are interested can learn more, right? And the ones who are not much interested and wants to learn the basics can learn the basic out of these slides, right? Ribosomes, no membrane, made up of 2 subunits. That is what? Large subunit and the small subunit, and the function is it gives the space, it gives the site to produce the important proteins of your body, right? Okay, fine. So where are they found in the cell? Okay, present in the rough endoplasmic reticulum, yes, and they are freely swimming in the cytoplasm. Okay, they go everywhere. Okay, right? So they live either freely in the cytoplasm or they can be found bound to the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Right, fine. Next one. As I said, endoplasmic reticulum, a network of membranes in the form of flattened sacs or tubules. Okay, now look at this. Okay, I put this picture right from your textbook, right? Now look at this. This is the nucleus, and covering the nucleus, these are the pores. Okay, covering the nucleus, we have the endoplasmic reticulum, right? So it okay, you have the YouTube link, right? You have the YouTube link, so you all can participate through the YouTube link also. Okay, right? It was given in the chat box. Okay, yes, this is limited for 100 participants, that is true. And if there's more people joining, they can join us through the YouTube link. Yes, so yes, as I was saying, the rough endoplasmic reticulum, from the nucleus, you have the part which grows out to be sacs-like things. Okay, they're like small, tiny, flat bags, right? Okay, and connected to them we have the ribosomes, right? Nice tiny ribosomes connected to them, right? Okay, so when the ribosomes are connected, we call them rough endoplasmic reticulum. But when ribosomes are not connected, in here the further part of it we call the what? Smooth endoplasmic reticulum, right? So according to that, they have 2 different functions too, right? Look at that. The function of it is the transportation of protein within the cell. Who's one? Rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then what about the smooth endoplasmic reticulum? Synthesis of lipids, steroids, and transport them within the cell are the function of it, right? Easy. What is meant by sacs or tubules? Well, of course, we'll come into the questions in a while, right? Okay, so we can discuss all the questions together. Okay, fine. Cell membrane is an organelle. Cell membrane is an organelle. Okay, fine. So what is this? This is the vacuole. Well, of course, vacuole is a big sac. Okay, it's like a big bag, okay, inside the plant cell. Of course, in animal cells, sometimes we can see small, tiny vacuoles, but remember, vacuoles are mainly found in plant cells, okay? Right. Membrane bound, are they membrane bound? What do you think? Are they membrane bound? Yes, exactly. Or else, how do you think that it can contain some fluid inside it without being mixed up with the cytoplasm? Isn't it? We have, here is the cytoplasm. Can you all see? Here is the cytoplasm. And can you all see in here tiny, tiny structures, right? Nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, right? And then here we have the ribosomes, right? So this is a membrane bound organelle, of course. Found in animal cells, yes, as I said, we can tell small ones can be present, right? Okay, exactly. So where are they found in the cell? So that is what I told, in the plant cell, in the middle, that is the central vacuole, right? And function, what is the function? Why do we need this big bag inside our cells? That is the plant cells. Why do we want to have it? Maintenance of water balance, and of course, support and provision of color to the cells by the pigments. If there's colors in it, right? If there's pigments in it, of course, they give the color to the cell, right? If it does not have any pigments, then it does not give any colors, right? Of course. Okay, questions. So let's go for the questions in here. Okay, so get ready. I have 2 questions, right? I want the answers in the chat box. Okay, let's go. A typical cell is the structure and the functional unit of life, is the origin of another cell, can undergo cellular division, is made up of all the organelles. What do you think? Okay. No 1, 2, 3. You're supposed to give only one answer. Yes, yes, is made up of all the organelles, right? Now, if I tell a cell, if the question just says a cell, then what is the answer? A cell. Exactly. If I tell the question without the word typical, then of course you have to go with the answer 1, option number 1, right? Okay, ma, fine. Okay, the next question. A picture of a plant cell is given below. What are the parts that could be found in the animal cell too? A and B, A and D, B and C, C and D. What do you all think? Okay. B and C. What is B and C? Well, let's see. B and C. Ah, of course. Abdullah, that is not helpful. C and D. Yes, that is the answer, right? C and D is the answer. Why, ma? Okay, now, sorry, madam, picture is not clear. Okay, very sorry about it, darling. I took it from the Sinhala paper, actually, right? So this is actually your 2018 paper, okay? One of the questions from your 2018 paper. So see how simple this question is, right? So if you all know the answer, you all know to answer it. As I always say, if you all don't know the answer, you're not gonna get the answer right. Right, fine. So when I come to this question, okay, nobody reminded me of one thing. Okay, now I told that we are done with the organelles, right? Okay, but there is one organelle that I didn't discuss. What is it? Golgi complex. Yes, exactly. Golgi complex. And we have the, what is it, ma? Chloroplast, exactly, right? We have the chloroplast. So this is chloroplast, right? Of course, in Sinhala letters, they had put the names, right? Okay, so to make it a bit challenging for you all, I covered those names. Okay, right, these are not mitochondria. Okay, these are chloroplasts. Okay, so the answer is chloroplast. We don't find it in the animal cell, right? So of course chloroplast can't come. So any answer that contains the option B, you cannot choose it, right? Elimination technique, right? And then A, cell wall. Of course you can't choose it. Why? Because it's the cell wall. Animal cells does not have a cell wall. So 1 and 2 gone. 3 is also gone. Then of course the answer is C and D. What is C and D? C is the cytoplasm. D is the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. Understood? Right, fine. So yes, so these are the organelles, right? Ribosome I discussed already. Okay, fine. So next part, next important part of the lesson is cell growth, right? Cell growth and cell division. We have to study about cell growth and cell division. Okay, fine. What do we have? Cell growth. What is cell growth? It is the growth of the cell in an irreversible method, right? So it cannot be reversed. Okay, so how does it happen? What happens really? Increase of size and the dry mass. Now, of course, now we sometimes when we eat a lot, right? What happens? We will be fat, right? But if we diet and if we do exercise, right, we can go thin, right? We can go down. But do our size be smaller than it can be? No, it doesn't happen. Why? Because your bones are already grown, right? Your muscles are already grown. There's no way that it can go smaller than it can be. So that is why we call it irreversible. Okay, irreversible. No matter what you do, there's no way that it can decrease the size of it, right? So the cell is grown already. There's no way that it can be going to the other session, right? Other session in the sense there's no way that it can be smaller than the usual size after the growth, right? Fine. Cell division. What is cell division? Once the cells are grown, right, they undergo cell division. Okay, the cell division is the process by which new cells are formed by the division of cellular materials. So this you should understand very clearly, and this is the main part of the session, right? Okay, so what is it? What is it? We have to study about cell division techniques, exactly, mitosis and meiosis, right? Okay, fine. So let's go right into it. Actually, for this, I'll be using your textbook, right? Okay, let's go to your textbooks. Can you all see the textbook clearly? Yes? Okay, fine. Right. So it's 8:45 now, right? So we would have to go through this, and then inshallah, the last 15 minutes, we'll try to discuss the answers for your questions. Okay. Is my voice clear? Can you all hear me clearly? Okay, fine. Cell growth. Okay, so this we learned already. Okay, cell division. Let's go to the cell division, important part. Okay. So of course, cells can grow and multiply. Okay, that is why you have grown to the body that you are now, or else you will be still in the baby mode, right? You're not a baby anymore, right? You have grown so much. Okay, and of course, they have been dividing, right? The cells undergo division by multiplication. New cells are formed. The cells multiply by cell division, right? Okay, so fine. Look at this now. To complete cell division of an eukaryotic cell, first the nucleus should divide, then the cytoplasm. So eukaryotic cell is the cell of us, right? Not the bacteria, right? We are now basically we are talking about the plants, and then we are talking about the animal cells, right? Just remember that we are talking about the eukaryotic cells. We are not going to talk about the prokaryotic cells. Okay, prokaryotic cells, of course, they have asexual sexual division techniques, right? So in the first session we studied about binary fission, and there's budding and all those stuffs. Okay, so don't confuse it with that, right? So when we are talking about eukaryotic cells, we have a, what can we say, organized nucleus, right? So we are going to talk about how those cells are going to be divided. Chromosomes contain and transfer genetic materials, the inherited character from generation to generation. Yes, of course. Now imagine, now, okay, I'm going to draw something on the board. Okay, look at this now. This is the first cell, right? Now this cell is going to be divided into two cells, right? So nucleus and all the important stuff are inside, right? Now if this is going to be divided, okay, so randomly it's like 1, 2, 3, go, let's divide. Okay, does it divide like that? And this part gets tiny bit of the nucleus, and this part gets the large part of the nucleus. No, this does not happen like this, right? Okay, they go into phases. They do it very organized way, right? So first of all, what they do, they first of all multiply the nucleus, right? That is the chromosomes inside, right? What can we say? The genetic material is first duplicated, right? And then they slowly divide all the other organelles between the cells, right? Now look at this picture. This picture is very clear, right? Okay. Thread-like chromosomes. Okay, now look at this. Before cell division, okay, before cell division, can you all remember I showed you all a picture, right? I showed you all a picture in which the chromatin, what can we say, the network, right? They are like, what can we say, threads like, right? But then if they are like this, is it easy to divide them? No, right? So they have to, what should they be like, what is the change that should happen to them? They should be condensed, okay? Then what happens? They form the chromosomes. So chromosomes, of course, you can divide them easily. Can you see in here? This is the nucleolus. Well, we have the nucleolus in here. Then the sister chromatids in the chromosomes. Can you see this is one chromosome, and then you have the chromatids, right? Okay, fine. So this is how your cells will normally look like, and if they are going to be divided, they will look like this, right? So how do we know that this is the way they look? Okay, if I tell, you all just believe, is it? How do we know? Any idea? How do we know that cells will look different when they are going to be divided? Exactly. Yes, we have to use the microscope. And of course, when we are talking about this, we have to use the electron microscope, right? We can't use the light microscope to study about the tiny structures, okay? Right? We have to use the electron microscope, right? Fine. So yes, let's go for the next part, right? Okay, the number of chromosomes in an ordinary somatic cell. Okay, so somatic cell is not the gamete cell, right? So gametes, of course, they are in your reproductive. Those are the reproductive cells, basically. Now, the cells in our hands, the skin, then what else? The liver, then the eye, they are somatic cells, right? Okay, so that is constant, right? That is specific. Okay, now look at this. We have 46 chromosomes, as I said, right? And so 46 divided by 2, that is 23. So we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. Always, when you have a question regarding chromosomes, make sure what they are asking. Are they asking how many pairs we have, or are they asking how many chromosomes we have? So when they ask how many chromosomes do humans have, the answer is 46. But if they ask how many chromosomes, how many pairs of chromosomes do humans have, the answer is 23. Right? Okay, fine. So those are the ones that contain our genetic information. Right, fine. So let's go right into the cell division. Okay, so See this, accordingly, a child inherits 46 chromosomes, receiving 23 chromosomes from father and 23 chromosomes from mother, right? So that is why I told you all in the beginning, right? So imagine if the cell that you got from your father and got from your mother are containing 46 itself, what would happen, right? It would double the amount, right? So that is not normal. Oh my god, right? You will have an overload of chromosomes. No, that does not happen. So that is why the gamete will have 23 chromosomes, and the sperm will have 23, the ovum, that is the egg, will have 23. Then alhamdulillah, when those two got together, 46 again. Okay, easy, right? So let's go to the cell divisions, mitosis and meiosis, right? Mitosis. Now what is this in here? It is the type of division which multiplies the number of cells by maintaining a constant number of chromosomes in the cell. First, the nucleus divided, then the cytoplasm divides to produce two identical daughter cells. Now look at these words. These words are important. Constant number of chromosomes. Okay. First, nucleus divides, then the cytoplasm divides. Okay. And remember these word, two identical daughter cells. Okay, right? Yeah. So while the cells undergo mitosis, the cell will look just like the parent cell. Okay, the cell will look just like this cell. Can you see in here, Ma? This picture is very clear. 2N, right? Okay, so this is a somatic cell. Okay, 2N means it should be a somatic cell, right? So first of all, it will duplicate itself, right? The genetic materials are duplicated, right? And then they nicely divide into two. Again, same like the mother, they have two identical cells. So in what cases do we need this kind of division, Ma? For the growth of multicellular organisms, right? For the growth of multicellular organisms, how did you grow to that? You were that baby, small baby, but now your hand is big, now your brain is big, right? Now, how did it grow so much? Well, of course, and all of those cells in each of those parts are similar to each other, right? So for that only we need mitosis. Yes, I'll explain it again. So listen to me very carefully. Okay, so mitosis is the process which happens in the body, in your whole body, other than your, what can we say, other than your gamete cells, right? Okay, so what happens is, okay, now imagine, okay, let's see like this. Let me draw it for y'all. Okay. Okay, please ignore my picture, right? Like in the sense, understand what I'm saying, right? But don't make fun of my drawings. Okay, so this is you. Okay. Okay, I don't know what I'm drawing. Okay, fine. Okay, so this is your hands, your legs, right? Okay, fine. So in your body, first of all, you were just a baby, right? First of all, you were just a baby. Okay, and then you are grown to a structure like this. How? Okay, how can this happen? Well, of course, you are supposed to duplicate your cells, right? So there's an increased amount of cells in your body now, right? So they have differentiated and they have multiplied. So if those cells are supposed to grow and then undergo division, right, they have to produce. Now this cell will produce, right, this cell will produce two of it, just like this, right? And this cell will again produce two of it. So it goes 2 by 2, binary, right? So therefore, your body can grow. Understood? And we have to maintain, listen to me very carefully, we have to maintain the constant number of chromosomes, right? So how can it happen when mitosis does not happen, right? Mitosis should happen first. Can you all see? The genetic material will be duplicated and then it will be nicely divided equally. Okay, right? So this happens in the somatic cells. Somatic, your body cells other than your gametes. Okay, so some of you are asking, what is a gamete now? Right? So gamete are your reproductive cells, ma. They can't undergo this at once. Why? Because they are supposed to give the half part, because they are now mother and father, right? The sperm has to have half and the egg has to have the half, right? Then when they get together again, the cell will have the constant number, right? That is why we have two types of cell divisions, right? Okay, right. So gamete is the haploid, okay, mature haploid male or female germ cell, right? Now, when I tell y'all what will happen if, yes, ma, yes, okay, I told y'all I'll come to the questions after I have taught y'all the theory part, right? Okay. Okay, I'll explain you. Don't worry. Ask me in the question session. I'll answer all of your questions. Okay, fine. Okay, so if I feel that the question is supposed to be sorted out now itself for you all to understand, then I'll take that question into the explanation session. But if I think that question is kind of going out of the box, then I'll explain it for in the question session, right? Okay, fine. So coming back to what I was talking about, right? So let me clear my scribblings. Yes. So gamete cell, let me explain you all the gamete cell. Okay, we'll come to the meiosis and then I'll explain you all about the gamete cells. So remember, listen to me very carefully, be attentive. Mitosis happens in the, okay, hold on a minute. Shifan brother, are you there?
Yes, sister.
Yes, can you see the chat box a bit?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so I was saying, listen to me very carefully. Mitosis is the cellular division. It happens when you want to maintain a constant number of chromosomes, right? And when you want to produce, when you want to have the cells exactly like the previous cell, then the body will undergo mitosis. So what are the instances where mitosis happens in our body? So the growth course and asexual reproduction method, right? So in in what can we say, in some animals, right, they have asexual reproduction, so of course they have to go mitosis, right? They don't have to undergo meiosis for that. Why? Because it's asexual. When we are talking about sexual reproduction, then only meiosis takes place, right, fine. Wound healing and cell replacement, remember these examples, remember these instances very clearly, right? Wound healing, right? Wound healing and growth and asexual reproduction, mitosis is important. Okay, fine. Now let's go to meiosis, right? Okay, fine. Okay, the cell division that makes the number of chromosomes into half as the parent cell is the meiosis, right? So meiosis takes place during formation of gametes. Okay, now you all asking, what is a gamete? What is a gamete? So this is a gamete, okay? Eggs and the sperm, okay? So what it is, it's an haploid male or female germ cell. Now when I use the word germ, okay, don't get confused with the germs, okay, the microorganisms. I'm talking about the germ, right? Germ cells, the gamete cells, right? Okay, right, look at this. Now I'll first of all, let's go through this, right? And then we'll come into the picture, okay, so that you all will get a clear idea about it. Right, fine. After the gametes being fused, the number of chromosomes of a species should be maintained constant. For that, the number of chromosomes should be half during the formation of the gametes, become N, that is haploid, right? Okay, so when we have the chromosomes half, we call them haploid. right? So look at this one. Now this is N in here. Why do we need this N? Okay, why do we need these N's in here? Why? Because why do we need these gametes to be N? Of course, I told you all before. Okay, because the egg has to fuse with the sperm to remain constant, to keep the number of chromosomes constant, right? Okay, now look at this picture. Let's go from the beginning. Here is a 2N, right? Diploid cell, chromosomes are present, right? And then what happens? They get together. Okay, this is something that you all have to know, right? So they get, can you see what has happened in here? They have multiplied, right? So 2N, 2N, and then it has got divided into two different cells, N. And then what happens? They again undergo something of a mitosis. Can you see, Ma? Okay, don't get confused. Okay, eggs and sperms possess only one chromosome of each pair of chromosomal set. 2N becomes N when these gametes fuse to form the zygote. The chromosomes become N plus N2N again, right? So can you see? Again, it becomes 2N. Alhamdulillah, no problem, right? Okay, first of all, it was N, and then because it has to undergo sexual reproduction, right? Meiosis happens, and meiosis is actually two phases are there, right? So division 1 and division 2. In division 2, they will undergo some kind of a similar mitosis process, right? So again, we have the normal cells after the zygote is formed. Okay, meiosis takes place in 2 stages. That is what I told. Okay, first stage and second stage. Okay, here see, can you see the next part is actually very similar to the mitosis. Okay, during meiosis, structural changes occur in the chromosomes. Therefore, new variations or new characters appear in organisms, and this is very important phenomena in evolution. Well, of course, now remember this very clearly. When we talk about mitosis, the daughter cells, okay, the cells that are being produced, okay, they are very similar to the, not very similar, they are exactly like the parent cell when mitosis happen. Okay, but when we are talking about okay, hold on a minute. Okay, there's Shifan, brother.
Yes, sister.
I'm having some disturbance in the chat box.
Oh, it's he gone. That person.
Sorry.
Oh, that person already gone. Is not in the list.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Yes, again and again. Shall I?
Okay.
Shall I mute the chat box?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, fine.
No one. Okay, let's put it as no one. Right, fine.
Okay, fine. You can continue.
Okay, so yes, of course, when you do something good, right? When you do something good, there will be disturbance happening, isn't it? Right? So let them disturb. We'll continue our work, right? Okay, fine. So yes, as I was saying, remember that meiosis takes place in 2 stages, 2 divisions are happening. What is the main, what can we say, main division? That is the division 1, in which the cell will become N, right? And then the N will undergo again division 2, that is very similar to mitosis, right? Okay, fine. So as I was saying, that is what I was discussing. That is the structural changes? Well, of course, now in mitosis, right? In mitosis, the cells are very similar to the parent cell. The cells which are being formed are very similar to the parent cell. But when we are talking about meiosis, right? Meiosis, what happens? The cells will, the new cell formed will not look like the what? Will not look like the parental cell. Okay, right. Significance of meiosis, maintenance of a constant number of chromosomes from generation to generation, helps in evolution due to variation occur in chromosomes. Of course, that is why you don't look, you look both like your mama and dada, right? Okay, so why does that happen? Well, because there's a mixture happening inside, right? Okay, right. Okay, fine. Okay, right. So, yeah. Okay, when things happen in the chat box, right? So I was a bit, what can we say? My concentration broke a bit. It's okay, fine. Let's continue. Right, so look at this picture in here. The difference between meiosis and mitosis. Okay, so meiosis and mitosis takes place in two divisions. Meiosis, as you saw in this picture, right? And then when we are talking about mitosis, only one division takes place only in diploid cells. Now, someone had asked, what is a diploid cell? What is a diploid cell? Can anybody tell me? Do you all know what a diploid cell is? Diploid cell will have 2 copies of each chromosomes, right? So when we talk about mitosis, takes place in both diploid and haploid, right? So remember that mitosis can happen in both what? Diploid and haploid. Okay, variations occur, thus changes takes place in chromosomes. Okay, so variations, how can variations happen? Well, of course, one cell is this, one cell, what can we say? 2 cells are involved, that is the sperm and the egg, right? So these 2 chromosomes, when they come in together, there is a variation happening. Of course, it's not from the same organism, right? One is from the father and the other one is from the mother. Well, of course, they have variations, right? So when both of those 2 got together, then of course, the one that is going to be formed, the 2N, which is going to be formed by that, will of course be different. And of course, sometimes when I watch some shows, right, I am irritated to find that the father, the son is exactly like the father, right? I get really irritated. Okay, why? Because that cannot be happened in the meiosis, isn't it? Right? So if meiosis happen, of course, the child will look different. Okay, so that is something extra. Okay, fine. So, okay, so in mitosis, no variations, the changes in chromosomes are very rare, right? If that happens, well, of course, there will be abnormal or mutations will be happening in that, right? 4 daughter cells result at the end of the division. Only 2 daughter cells are formed. So in here, look at this, Ma. Can you see in here, meiosis is a bit longer process. Can you see, right? Division number 1 and division number 2, because they undergo division number 1 as well, right? They go division number 1 and then division number 2. They have 4 daughter cells. But when we are talking about mitosis, just 2 cells are formed, right? Okay, fine. Next one. Daughter cells receive half of the chromosomal number from the mother cell. 2 daughter cells receive the same chromosomal number as the mother cell, right? Okay, I hope it's very clear because I have repeated this point for more than 3 times now. Okay, right. Daughter cells are different from the mother cell. Daughter cells are similar to the mother cell, right? So both of these are very important for the smooth function of our body. Right? Okay, fine. This one is, of course, important for our existence itself, meiosis, isn't it? And mitosis, of course, to grow and to heal if we have a wound. right? Okay, fine. So we are done with the lesson and let's move to a question. Now I have a question before I ask or I open the mic for you all to ask questions. Right, fine. Hold on a minute. Let me take the question for you all. Okay. Can you see the question on the screen? Yes. Okay. So can you answer me this question? Given below is a diagram of the cellular division of a human cell. What are the modes of division indicated by the diagram labeled A and B? Yes. Go ahead. I'm getting all sorts of questions. Mitosis. Okay. I still didn't get the answer that I need. Well, of course, this is what can we say? This is, okay, first of all, tell me, what is really happening in this picture? Some are telling meiosis and some are telling mitosis. Yes, cell division. Mother cell, yes, yes, yes. What are the modes of division indicated in the diagram labeled A and B? Exactly. Yes, now the answer is coming. Very good. Okay, right. Nuclear division and cytoplasmic division. Okay, now look at this in here. Okay, so this in here is actually the, what can we say? A is mitosis, yes, and B is meiosis. Okay, now some have got confused with both. Okay, now tell me who is telling that A is mitosis? Raise your hands to see. Abdullah, Farha, okay, y'all are telling that A is mitosis. Okay, fine. Then who are the ones that says that the A is meiosis? Let's see. Okay, so some of the students are very silent. They don't want to tell either it's meiosis or meiosis or mitosis. Well, of course, the correct answer is A is mitosis and B is meiosis. Why? Because it's a very clear picture. No need to get confused. Let me explain it to you all. Now, in here, this one, right, they actually have put only one cell. Actually, it is supposed to be, there should be another cell in here. Okay, right? Can you understand? So this is exactly like the mama cell. This is the mother cell and the daughter cell. So in here, of course, it should have been mitosis. Easy as that, right? And now this cell, what has happened? The chromosomes are divided into two cells. Then of course 2n has become n in here. Then of course this should be meiosis. I hope it's clear for you all now. Okay, in what type of cells does meiosis takes place? Yes? Can anybody answer me that? Diploid cells, gamete cells, yes. Okay, let's write gamete cells. Okay, right, fine. Mention one instance where mitosis is important to an organism. Just from the theory we learned. Wound healing, very good. Aha, for reproduction, no. Well, of course, reproduction, then you have to be more specific, Azra. You have to tell it is asexual reproduction, right? Very good. Cell generation, yes. Growth of the body, well done. Wound healing, yes. Growth of multicellular organisms, right? Okay, simple. Okay, if you know it, you know it. If you don't know, you don't know it. Okay, write 2 points from which meiosis differ from mitosis. Yes, what are the 2 points? Tell me 2 points from which mitosis, meiosis is different from yes. Write 2 points from which meiosis differ from mitosis. So you have to talk about meiosis or mitosis. You have to talk about meiosis, right? You have to talk about meiosis. Okay? Understand the question properly. Daughter cells are different from the mother cell. Yes, very good. That is 1 point. You can take that as one answer. Daughter cells are different from the mother cells. What else? Takes place in 2 phases exactly. That can be one answer. You can't write diploid cells, Mano. Not really. Changes in the chromosomes are rare, no. Variations occur, exactly, right? Okay, it happens in the what? In the, come on. Sometimes I tell half of the sentence because I want you all to complete it. Daughter cells are different, exactly, and it happens in the sexual reproduction, right? Okay, so meiosis is, of course, in sexual reproduction. That does not happen. That has nothing to do with asexual reproduction. Meiosis. Mitosis, of course, has. Right, fine. So yes, I'm done for the day. Right, so this is the last question that I wanted to discuss with you all. Right, so let's go for questions. Okay. Right. Y'all can type your questions in the chat box. And of course, y'all can share your feedbacks, right? If y'all have any feedbacks. What is a haploid cell? Haploid cell is ENMA. That is only one, what can we say? One copy of each chromosomes are present. That is why we call it the haploid. We call it the diploid when 2 copies of each chromosomes are present. Right? So haploid cells are basically the germ-line cells, germ cells. Right? Oh, okay, Golgi body. Yes, I have forgotten to put that into the slides, Ma. Well, of course, yes. Okay, I have the textbook, right? I can share the textbook with y'all. Okay, right. I have completely forgotten the Golgi body. Can you all see the textbook? Okay, so there's the Golgi body. Here it is, right? Okay, so Golgi body is also one of the main important organelle, right? It is also membrane bound. Actually, remember they are sacs stacked on top of each other. They're like tiny bags, right? So what do? They secrete vesicles, right? Okay, so secretory vesicles. Actually, now remember like this. Okay, now I told you I have that picture, right? In a tub, there are toys, right? So those toys, right? Those toys, if they want to communicate with each other, if those organelles want to communicate with each other, right? And if they want to send some gifts, right, to each other, or if they want to send something from the nucleus to somewhere else, right? So those transportation things are actually done by this Golgi, right? So can you see in here, the function of Golgi complex is production of secretory substances, packaging and secretion, right? Gifts in the sense I meant secretory substances, okay? Don't get confused, okay? Not gifts as in gifts, right? The secretory substances, okay? Sorry about that. Okay, fine. Any other questions? Exactly. It is a factory, right? It is a factory. if one protein is not functioning properly, right, the cell function is collapsed, right? Alhamdulillah. So our cells are working like this, right? All right. So that is why we are in a healthy state. Asexual reproduction is where gametes are not involved, right? If gametes are involved, it becomes sexual reproduction, right? Okay. What else? Okay. Some of y'all are very interested about twin babies, right? Huh? Okay, so twin babies, of course, ma, what happens is that once the zygote is formed, right? Okay, so there are different circumstances in which twin babies. So sometimes they are identical, sometimes they are not, right? So in which there's two eggs involved, then not identical, right? If only one egg and then it becomes the duplicate of it, then we have identical twins, right? Of course, in your exam paper, you will never get a question of how twins are born, right? Okay, right. What is meant by metabolic process? Well, of course, in our cell, right? So now let's take like this. Okay, let me take the whiteboard for y'all. Okay, so in here, okay, so if this is a cell, right? This cell, okay, will produce things and do all sorts of things, right? So these substances, either it happens, what can we say? Either it breaks down things, right? Or it makes stuffs, right? So we have two words, right? Anabolic and catabolic, right? So metabolic is what can we say, the chemical processes, okay, that happens inside your cells, right? Metabolism, basically, okay, the chemical process that takes place inside the cell to keep you alive, right? For an example, let's tell that what can we say, some of the proteins, okay, now imagine like this, okay, the liver has lots of glycogen in it, right? So the glycogen, when you have very less amount of glucose in your body, the glycogen is supposed to undergo breaking, and then from the glycogen you have the glucose being produced, right? So that is a metabolism happening in your body, right? Well, of course, now I wanted to inform you all, right? So inshallah, in the further sessions, I'll be discussing about the systems, right? The what can we say, the circulatory system, the kidneys, right? So for that, for you all to understand, you have to understand these basic things now. What is mitosis, what is meiosis, how the cells function, and of course, most of the questions when we look at the exam paper, right, they are mostly involved in tissues, right? Tissues and the systems, right? So last time there was a question about the, most of the time there's question about the nervous system, right? The autonomic and the autonomic nervous system, right? And of course, you all have to understand the basics in order for you to study about those, right? Okay. The next session will inshallah inform you, right? Okay. And then there was a question coming again and again, ma'am, what if a child, okay, what if a child have less chromosomes? What happened? Well, if they have less chromosomes, of course, they are abnormal, right? So something goes wrong inside their body. So according to which chromosomes they lack, there are different conditions, right? Klinefelter, then we have Down syndrome, right? So we have those kinds of conditions. Yes, any more questions? Cellular respiration is mitochondria function, right? Yes, exactly. That is cellular respiration, yes, from which they produce energy, right? We have few more minutes before we wrap up things. Any more questions? Okay, I would like to have the feedback from you. Okay, so how I can improve and what else we need to do, right? So inshallah, y'all can Let me know. Okay. Okay, Azka, you have raised your hand. Would you like to share with us something? Azka, your mic is unmuted. Azka? Can't hear you, ma. No, dear, I can't hear you. Okay, maybe you can type in. Anyone else? Right. Bio is not hard. Don't think bio is hard. Bio is easy. Okay. Bio is easy. It's my favorite subject, right? Okay, fine. If you all have any more questions, right, you all can ask me personally, right? So you all know my contact number, right? So of course you all can mail me. Okay, right. So tomorrow you all have the chemistry session, right? So hope you all are ready for the chemistry, right? So it's all about going to be chemistry, right? So you all are going to study about chemical bonds, and it's going to be a very interesting session, right? So Miss Rushda is all ready to she's all ready to teach you all tomorrow. So at the same time, it's going to
Excuse
be
me,
from
Payal.
8 to 9:30. Yes.
Tomorrow we are having physics
Oh,
class.
okay. Okay, sorry about it. Okay, sorry, I'm really sorry. So tomorrow it's going to be physics. Okay, thank you very much, Miss Navila. So not chemistry, sorry, children, I messed it up. So it's physics. So Miss Navila is already with us to share. It's going to be very interesting, and it's also one of the basic what can we say, basic lessons, right? In which questions are given for your O-level exam paper, right? Okay, so fine. Shall we wrap things up? If there's no more questions, you're welcome. Yes. Okay, we can end this session for today. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Have a nice day and see you all tomorrow, 8 p.m. with Miss Nabila. Thank you.